So if you're anything like me, you probably can't follow a schedule even if your life depended on it. First day, perfect, I follow the schedule. Second day, perfect, I can also follow the schedule. Third day, yeah, I miss an item or two here and there. Day 4, completely disregard the schedule. Day 5, forgot it ever existed. And at the end of it all, I always feel horrible. You're such a bad student. You can't even follow a schedule. You can't follow anything. You're gonna fail in everything. Oh my god, this is life. It's so stressful. And then 5 days later, I make a new schedule and the cycle starts anew. But one day, a brilliant idea hit my head, and it's the idea of embracing the chaos. Instead of trying to fight myself, trying to follow a schedule, I decided to just follow my own head. I don't know how to describe it to you, but I decided to embrace the chaos within me to work. The only requirement I set for any single day is to do some amount of work. And that's it. There's absolutely nothing else that I'm setting in the day except that. And how do I set these tasks? How do I set these to-do lists? So I'm currently studying an endocrinology subject in medicine. There are about 66 lectures and I have to get through all of them. So naturally my to-do list would be getting through all 66 lectures over the next 5 weeks. That's it. Once that's set, I start working towards that goal every single day. The same thing happens when there are other things going on. For example, if I have a project that's due in 5 weeks, then I know completing the project is the end goal. And a to-do list for me every day naturally spawns based on the project itself. So for example, one day I'll be writing an introduction portion. The next day I would be working on the presentation. From there, I let the chaotic energy take over. So what do I mean when I let the chaotic energy take over? It means structuring your day based on your needs. So instead of setting a specific time to study or a specific amount of hours you're supposed to study, I just let my body decide whatever it wants to do. Here, I'll give you an example. I am never a morning person. It's never ever happened, and it never will ever happen. If you ever see me studying in the morning, know something really bad went down. And thus, instead of trying to force myself to study in the morning because I've heard it like a million times from like a million different people, I decided to just follow what my body wants, which is not study in the morning. So instead of trying to study, I decided to do something else in the morning. It could be doing chores or doing entertaining stuff like scrolling through Twitter, scrolling through Instagram, going on YouTube, reading manga, whatever it is. I decided to embrace that I don't work in the morning and that I need a slow start. Very importantly though, when I embrace this chaos of the morning, I don't feel guilty about it. No, I go in completely blissfully and just enjoy myself without even thinking about my day or any of the work that I'm supposed to do. The most important thing when it comes to the day itself is that you get some amount of work done. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter when you do it, how you perform it. It doesn't really matter. It's just, it needs to get done. That's all you need to put in your head. If you're here to get a shortcut out of things, that's not happening. That's never happening. You will tell your body that this is done. You will make it understand that this is something that you cannot negotiate. I don't care if the work finishes at 3 a.m. I don't care if the work finishes at 5 a.m. Your brain needs to understand that this work is a life and death situation and it needs to be done today. If it's not done today, then it's the end of the world. You give it the liberty to choose what time to do it, to choose what to do, to choose whatever it wants. You see all that energy you spent into making plans and convincing yourself to sit down and study? I want all of that energy, every single bit of it, channeled into the idea of I have to get it done today. So again, I'm gonna continue with my own story. I found that I study best after the morning, after class. It doesn't really matter when I study after class. It could be right away or it could be way later in the evening. Whatever time it is, I instinctively know that I'm ready to study. How do I know when my body wants to study? It's gonna sound extremely absurd to you, but I sit down at a table and I open up the work and I remind myself the consequences of not doing that work. And if my body is convinced that yes, we need to work on this, then I work on it for a few hours and then I stop. If my body still isn't convinced by it, that it needs to do something else before doing this, then I will do that something else. If my body, for example, decides that, hey, I want to hang out with some friends before I go into studying mode, you know what? it's time to hang out with some friends. If my body decides, hey, I'm kind of craving a pizza today, so let's go do that instead right now, let's do it. The most important thing is that you only promise your body this one thing. Whatever this get out of jail card from studying is, you go satisfy that. Once you're done with that, your body will automatically enter study mode. It's ridiculous. When you sit down and study right after satisfying that urge, you will study. It's happened so many times with me. It rarely ever fails. And when it fails, it's because something came up usually. What I'm trying to say here is listen to what your body wants and go with it, but only go with it once. Don't start a chain of wants. That's where you get to procrastination. We don't want to procrastinate. This is very important. So keep that in mind. Besides like satisfying these urges, the second thing in order to make my body study is allow it to pick what to study. I don't go into the studying with a set plan. Absolutely not. I sit down and I let my body decide on the spot what it wants to do. So let me give you an example on how my body picks what to study. It's 5 p.m. I sit down at my desk and I open up the laptop and let it decide from there. But I don't let it decide from like an infinite amount of choices. No, I limit it to 4 choices usually. These choices are based on the type of work I do. My work usually falls into 4 categories: lecture studying, working on projects, working on hobbies, working on extracurricular activities. The most important thing is when you let your body decide, it can only decide from these 4 things. So there's a common idea where if you have so many options in front of you, despite having this much variety, you can't usually decide which work to go through. And even if you do, there's a higher likely chance that it's not important. When you're limiting yourself to these 4 options, you are limiting your head to pick from one of them. There's not a lot of room to divert. And thus, I let my body pick one of those. Usually it's an extracurricular activity because it starts the ball rolling and my body is more excited to work on it. Once you start getting into this work, there's an idea that work drives motivation, not the other way around. This means that once you get into the flow, you'll be naturally more motivated to work on something else. So we're using that to our advantage here. When we start with what our body wants to do at the beginning, like the easy tasks usually, it sort of starts cultivating this motivation and thus driving your mindset to work on more difficult tasks. And therefore that study session starts with extracurricular activities and usually ends with a good amount of studying done from the lectures. From there, whenever I get tired, and I'm not talking about like nagging tired, I'm talking about actual fatigue because your head hurts from studying. Usually that happens about 2 hours in for me. You stop everything. Your body is signaling to you, hey, this is enough. That's it. Stop the torture. You want to comply here. I found that when you go against your body will make it very hard for you to study next time because you will subject it through the torture again. You want to be accommodating to it. So you just stop. That's it. That's the end of the study session. There's absolutely nothing you could do. It could be 20 minutes. It could be 2 hours. Just let it happen. Once you let it happen, this is very critical. This is the most important step. You go do something else completely unrelated to work. For me, it's working out. When I work out, it completely disconnects my head from any amount of work. For someone else, it might be watching a show or doing something fun. Once you do that, you're sort of satisfying the criteria that your body set earlier. It's, hey, how about we study after we do this? So you go do that and then you try again studying and you let the chaotic energy take over again. You let it decide what to study and then you bridge from there and so on and so forth. And it works perfectly. It is ridiculous how well this works. I don't need to set schedules. I don't need to set plans. The only thing I need is just this chaotic energy and just a basic understanding of the progress in my head. I don't need to track it like bit by bit. I've never done that. I usually just have an idea on what's going on, how far behind I am, what I need to work on. That's it. Now, some general tips. Try to find what time of the day you're usually least active. Try to dedicate that for breaks just so you can save yourself some guilt and some shame from not studying or like your body not feeling like to study. For me, it's the morning and the afternoon, usually very low energy, very miserable, never gonna study in them. Usually just for entertainment or working out. If your body decides one day to not do work at the usual time you do work in through the chaos, go with the flow, respect it. It's fine, you're gonna be fine. So yeah, that's about all really. It's very simple. It's not supposed to be complicated. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing because I've enlightened you with something that's never been said before. Actually, it has been probably said before, but that's besides the point. Please consider subscribing. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.